Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to Mathematics in the Modern World. So, our topic for today, class, is just the continuation of our previous topic, which is, kung matatandaan nyo, is all about the measures of central tendency. And then, yung part 1 natin, class, is yung measures of relative position, in which we'll learn the differences between the percentiles and percentage, the quartiles and then the quarter, and of course our z-score, or what we call the standard score. So dun sa percentiles, we'll learn to compute and calculate it using the formula, which is the n, small letter n, which is our ordinal rank, is equal to the percentile, which is denoted by the symbol a big letter P, divided by the default number, which is 100, and then times the number of values in the data set, which is denoted by the symbol big letter N. And while the quartile, in which meron tayong real number line na tinatawag, kung saan na-demonstrate ko last meeting class, which is dun sa horizontal na x-axis, diba? Yung ating real number line, kung saan doon natin malalaman yung quartiles, which is denoted by the Q1, Q2, and Q3 respectively. And lastly, na measures of relative position is yung tinatawag nating standard score or yung z-score. So ngayon, magpapatuloy tayo sa ating part 2 ng ating topic, which is the probabilities and normal distribution, kung saan gagamitin natin ulit yung relative position na z-score later on. So before that, let me tell you our learning objectives in this topic. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to use the normal distribution, about its parameters, and how to calculate the z-scores to standardize your data and find the probabilities. Okay, so simulan na natin. So dito sa topic natin, class, required na dapat meron tayong calculator, specifically yung scientific calculator, kasi magka-calculate tayo ng mga numbers, yung mga decimal number, kasi mag-graph tayo, class, no? And then, syempre, yung mga percentage. So, meron kayong calculator dyan, so bring it with you together with your pen and a piece of paper. Okay, so, normal distribution and probabilities. Okay, so a normal distribution, also known as the Gaussian distribution, is a probability distribution that is symmetric about the mean. Okay, alam nyo na, class, kung ano yung mean, kung saan isa siya sa relative, the central tendency, no? Showing that data near the mean are more frequent in occurrence than data far from the mean. So in graph form, normal distribution will appear as a bell curve. So alam nyo ba kung ano ang bell curve? So the normal distribution, class, is a continuous probability distribution that is symmetrical on both sides of the mean. So meron tayong, okay, mag-sketch ulit tayo, no? So using my very unique electrical Android pen. Okay, so ganito ang itsura ng graph natin. So like for example, meron tayong horizontal line na ganyan. So wag yun ang pakialaman, class, kung tabi-tabingi or hindi straight. So anyway, so ito yung horizontal line natin, and then this is our graph, kung saan sabi, diba, normally dun sa graph natin is it will appear as a bell. So, bell curve. So, alam nyo naman ang itsura ng bell, no? So, ganyan. So, meron tayong tinatawag na, diba, sabi niya kanina, the probability distribution that is symmetric both side of the mean. So, meron tayong mean, median, and mode. So, hindi mawawala yung ating central tendency. Kung saan yung mean, median, mode ay equal silang pareho. So, normally, mean ang tawag dito sa peak ng ating, dito sa taas ng ating bell curve. So, ito yung mean. So, sa gitna ng mean natin, in between, meron tayong tinatawag na symmetric both side, which is, ang tawag dyan ay symmetrical side. Sa right side, and then, sa left and then sa right side natin. So, parang mirror lang yung right side doon sa left. So, ang tawag dyan is symmetrical side. So, meron din tayong tinatawag na asymptotic tail. Okay? Which is, itong asymptotic tail natin, kung mapapansin nyo dito sa dulo ng ating bell curve, hindi sila nag-approach dito sa ating horizontal line. So, asymptotic tail ang tawag dyan. Okay? So, ito yung example natin ng graph na bell curve. Okay? So, let's continue. Okay, so itong bell curve natin, class, normal distribution was first described by a German mathematician na si Carl Gauss. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, normal distribution is also called or also known as Gaussian distribution. So it was named after Carl Gauss. Okay, so let's continue. What is the difference between a normal distribution and a standard normal distribution? Okay, so yung normal distribution, sabi natin kanina, is a continuous probability distribution. Okay, it is determined by two parameters. So yung ating normal distribution, meron siyang dalawang parameters, which is the mean and the variance. Yung other term for the variance is yung standard deviation. Okay, so ano yung first parameter na tinatawag na mean? Okay, so ganyan ang itsura ng mean. Kung mapapansin nyo sa graph natin is parehong-pareho. So gaya nung example natin kanina na bell curve, no? So, meron tayong symmetrical side. So, kinapi lang yung right side doon sa left side. Yung ating bell curve. So, ganito ang itsura ng mean. As with any probability distribution, yung parameters for the normal distribution define its shape and probabilities entirely. So, kung mapapansin nyo, pansinin natin yung ating graph, no? Sa first parameter, which is yung mean. Ayan. So, yung graph natin, normal distribution is equal to the different means minus yung same standard deviation. So, kaya yung sabi ko kanina, parang mirror lamang siya nung right na curve and then sun sa papuntang sa left. The mean is is the central tendency of the distribution, kaya equal sila, no? It defines the location of the peak, yung peak ng ating bell curve for normal distribution. So most values cluster around the mean na tinatawag. So, kaya dito sa graph natin, changing the mean, shift the entire curve left or yung right on the x-axis. So, ito yung ating x-axis. No? While the second parameter na tinatawag na standard deviation or yung variance, So, ganito naman yung kanyang itsura. So, may pinagbago ba class sa graph? Okay, so kitang-kita naman yung pinagbago, no, between the density and then yung x-axis. So yung density, so this is your y-axis kapag sa graph, no, horizontal and then vertical. In which dito naman sa standard deviation, it is a measure of the variability. Kung sa mean kanina, it is a central tendency ng distribution. Ito naman sa standard deviation, siya yung measure of variability that defines yung width of the normal distribution. Kaya kung mapapansin no, yung graph, nag-spread siya, no? Kung kanina equal lang yung measurement or yung distance nung graph, no? Parehong masikip, pareho yung width nila. No, while dito sa standard deviation, nag-split yung isa. Kaya yung standard deviation determines how far away from the mean yung values tend to fall dito sa x-axis. So, it represents the typical distance between yung observation and the average. No, yung observation symbol natin is yung value doon, 'di ba? Yung value. Okay, so kayo sa graph natin, changing the standard deviation, which is standard deviation is yung symbol nun is sigma or yung small letter s, no? Kung matatandaan niyo yung relative position natin. So, changing the standard deviation either tightens o pasikip and then or spreads out. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, yung width is nag-spread siya. And then yung isa naman ay tighten. So masikip. So ganyan. No? So a larger standard deviation produce distributions that are more spread out. Kaya yan yung ating parameters. So a standard deviation and then the mean. Iyon yung difference ng mean and standard deviation na parameter ng normal distribution. Okay, so how about yung tinatawag nating standard normal distribution? So yung standard normal distribution or tinatawag na Z, kung saan itong normal distribution natin ay dito tayo kukuha nung i-apply natin dito yung tinatawag na z-table or standard table, no, kung saan mag-calculate tayo ng or mag-calculate tayo ng z scores or standard score. Okay, so yung itsura naman ng standard normal distribution or SND is a bell curve lang din siya. So this is your horizontal or x-axis line. So ganyan. And then meron kang ano dyan. Yan. So imagine niyo na nag-meet yan, no? So ganyan yung graph natin. So wait lang kasi wala tayong electronic pen, no? So, ganyan. O yan, okay. So, imagine niyo lang na perfect bell curve yung ating sketch. Okay, so nag-meet na yung ating yung asymptotic tail. O yan, asymptotic tail and then yung ating horizontal line. Okay, so sa gitna kung saan nandoon yung mean natin, kung matatandaan nyo yung mean, huwag nyong kalimutan yung ating mga yung mga tawag yun, vocabulary dito. Okay, so ito yung ating standard normal distribution or SND. Okay, so from the origin which is represented by 0. So alam nyo yan class, okay? This is your x and this is your y-axis. So, from 0 to the right, kapag from origin to the right, anong ibig sabihin nun? Anong sign? Okay, so positive. 1, 2, and 3. Positive yan, okay? From the right. Kapag pa-left naman siya, class, so, automatic na negative naman siya. Okay, negative 1, negative 2, and then negative 3. So, sa 3, papunta sa y-axis, which is in between, ano na yan, positive and negative. So, this is your 0, papuntang y-axis or yung vertical line. So, this is your 0. And then, from 0.1 hanggang 0.5. Okay, so pakinggan nyo lang yung sinasabi ko, class. Okay, so this is your standard normal distribution. Meron na siyang value. Okay, okay, so next, how to use the z-table or yung standard table natin. So dito na tayo mag-solve. So meron tayong z-table kung saan titignan natin yung mga various numbers, which is usually a decimal figure. Okay, a score or z-score table shows the percentage of values using yung z-table. So to the left of a given, okay, ito yung ating table. Okay, so itong table natin or standard normal distribution. So like for example, mag-imagine tayo ng standard score natin value, which is, yung sa example natin is 1.09. So meron tayong value na 1.09. Okay, so first step, tignan natin yung ating table. So ito yung table natin, class. Okay, yan, napakaraming numbers. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, puro decimal siya. So tignan natin sa first side column of our z table para makita natin yung value corresponding to another decimal place of our z scores. So 1.09, no? So decimal siya. Kung sa left side column natin na z score, kaya kung mapapansin nyo sa taas, meron siyang z. Yan, dito sa taas, ito. Okay, nasan ba yung 1.0 dyan? Okay, so ito, 1.0. Yung whole number, yan yung ating whole number. Yung 1 or 1.0, equivalent to 100% yan, class. So, yung first digit after nung decimal point, no? Yung 1.0. So, ang sunod dyan, tignan natin yung remaining number across yung ating table. So, dito sa taas. Kaya, di ba 1.09? So, yung 1.0, makikita yun sa left side column. And then, yung 0.09, makikita naman sa taas ng ating table, yung corresponding number niya, remaining number. Okay, so, which is yung 0.09 or 0.09. Okay, dito sa taas, ito, class. Okay? Yan. So, yung corresponding area nung ating 0.09 is 0.8621 or 0.8621. Ito siya. Ayan. Sa tapat ng 1.0. Na kapag i-translate natin in percentage, itong itong decimal point na 8621 magiging 86.21%. Okay? Yan, 86.21% of the standard normal distribution being below or to the left of the z-score. Okay, baka confuse kayo sa below or yung to the left. So, di ba yung symmetrical side natin kanina sa bell curve, merong right and left side, symmetrical side yun. Ang tawag dun sa below kasi, left. And then, dito naman sa yung sa tabi niya, right? So okay, i-graph natin yung ating sagot or yung area, no? Yung area left of our z-score na which is 86.21% doon sa ating z-score na value which is yung 1.09. So magiging ganito siya, okay? Okay, your graph, and then yung ating bell curve, okay. Yan. So, let's assume na perfect yung ating line. Okay. Yan, kung mapapansin nyo, mataas yung 86.21%, no? Yung proportion percent of the SND or standard normal distribution to the left of the z-score. So, ito yung left natin, class. Left, which is, ito yung 86.21%. And itong remaining value ay itong side natin, which is napakaliit lang, the remaining portion, ito yung given z-score value natin, which is 1.09. Okay? So, ito yung ating area left of the z-score. Okay? So, nakuha nyo ba, class? Yung area. Okay, so, para makita natin ulit, so, hindi pa yan nagtatapos, okay? So, para makita natin yung area to the right, asa na ba yun? Hindi naman, ito oh. Yung kuryente? Wala na tayo, class. Okay, so ito yung ating area left ng ating z-score, no? So, nakita na natin kung paano kunin using our z-table. Okay, so, paano naman ang pagkuha sa remaining portion, which is yung area right ng ating z-score. Okay, so, ibulahin muna natin yung ating sketch, no? Para may paglagyan tayo ng ating susunod na okay, so 86.21% yung ating area left, no? So, paano naman yung area to the right of positive z-score? So, tignan ulit natin yung table natin. Okay, so, yung table natin ng SND. So, since yung total area under ng bell curve natin is 1, or, 1 is as a decimal value, which is equivalent to 100%, no? So, ang gagawin natin para makuha yung area positive ng sa right, so subtract lang natin yung area from the table from yung first natin, no? So, like for example, the area to the left of yung z-score natin is, ano ba yung value given natin? Yung 1.0, no? Okay, 1.0. So, ayan, nandyan na siya. Is given as 86.21 in percentage. So, sa decimal, 0.8621. Ito siya, ayan. No? So, yung area ng right ng ating z-score, 1.09 is magiging 1 yan ng decimal 1. Okay, so subtract lang natin yung 1.0 dito. So, wag nyo nang isipin yung second decimal niya, na which is 0.9. So, kunin lang natin yung 1. Subtract lang natin sa ating corresponding area ng 1.0, which is 0.8621. So, 1 minus 8. Okay, 1 minus 0.8621 is equal to, okay, so para mapatunayan natin, buksan natin yung calculator natin, no? Okay, ito yung calculator natin. So, 1 minus 0.8621 is equal to 0.1379. So, ito na yung ating area right. So, yung positive, no? 1379. So, ayan yung ilalagay natin dito. Yan. 1379. So, point yan. Ayan yung area right. Okay? So, ito yung left natin kanina, no? 8621%. This one. And then, yung ating area right, positive, C-score, ito, 0.1379. So, kapag gawin nating percentage, yan magiging 13.79%. Okay? So, ayun, yung pagkuha ng Z-scores using our standard table. Okay, next. Probability and then yung normal curve. So, what is empirical rule formula? So, meron din tayong tinatawag na empirical rule formula. Ano ba yun? Ayan, kung makikita nyo sa graph, yung empirical rule in statistics allows researchers to determine the proportion of values that fall within certain distances from the mean. So, titignan lang natin dito, class, is yung distance ng yung area or yung value from the mean. So, ayan lang yung pinaka-importante dyan, no? Yung distance. So, kaya kung mapapansin nyo, ito yung ating empirical rule na tinatawag na 3 sigma rule or 68, 95, and 99.7. Ito, yan. Iba't ibang distance sa mean yan, class, no? Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, no, gitna ng mean. Kasi yung kanina, di ba, ito yung mean, median, and mode natin na equal sila lahat. Okay. So, ayan yung empirical rule natin, no? So, if the data values in normal distribution are converted to standard score or z-score in a standard normal distribution, the empirical rule describes the percentage of the data that fall within the specific numbers of standard deviation na symbol sigma from the mean. Symbol niya is micro, yung para siyang U, no, for bell-shaped curve. So, hindi mawawala yung bell-shaped curve natin. So, yung first empirical rule natin, which is 68%. Ayan, ganyan yung itsura. Nasa gitna ng mean. So, yung 68% of values are within the first or yung 1 STD or yung standard distribution natin. Okay? So, yung 68% natin of the data falls within the first 1 point STD or first standard deviation from the mean. So, this is your mean and then this is your 68% value. So, this means there is a 68% probability of randomly selecting score between, kaya ito. So, this is your origin, no? 0. And then, papuntang right sa x-axis, papuntang right is positive, papuntang left is negative. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, yung kanyang area is between the negative 1 and then positive 1 standard deviations from the mean. So, ito pa rin, nasa mean sila, no? So, ayan yung 68% ng 68% na rule. Okay. And then, yung ating sunod na empirical rule, which is 95% of values are within second, sabi niya dito sa ating title, no? Second standard deviation. So, pag second yan, or 2, kaya nakikita nyo naman, class, kung kanina, yung 68% between negative 1 and negative 2 sa mean, no? Ngayon naman sa 95% of values ay between the negative 2 and then the positive 2. Yan, so ito yung ating pangalawang empirical rule, the 95% of values are within the 2 standard deviation. Kaya kung kanina, the 68% is lies between the negative 1 and then positive 1 sa mean. No, and then sa ating 95% lies between the negative 2 and then sa ating positive 2. So, the 95% of the values fall within 2 standard deviation from the mean. So, ito. So, ito yung ating 68% kanina, no? So, yung 95% probability ay sa negative 2 and positive 2. And then, the last empirical rule natin is the 99.7%. So, sa 99.7% of values are within 3 standard deviation. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, class, yung graph is buong-buo na siya. So, ito yung ating 68% kanina, which is lies between negative 1 and positive 1. And then, yung 95% natin is lies between negative 2 and positive 2. And our 99.7% of values is from negative 3 to positive 3. So, lahat nung bell curve natin na graph is sakop yung 99.7% of values. 3 is standard deviation. Okay? So, ito yung ating tatlong empirical rule na graph. The 3 sigma or 68, 95, and 99.7% values. Okay, so next. Okay, examples. So, ito na yung example natin. So, meron tayong given, use standard scores to make an apples to oranges comparison. So, ito yung example natin na okay, so meron tayong graph dito. A table. Okay, so ang gagawin natin dyan, i-identify natin, no, yung apples and then yung oranges. Okay, so ito yung ating formula. Formula ng z-score. Yan, so z, which is yung z-score, is equal to x, which is your yung score mismo na value, and then u, or yung micro symbol, is your mean divided by your standard deviation symbol sigma. Okay, so yan. So first, kunin natin yung halimbawa yung ating apple ay meron siyang ang tawag doon sa weight niya, 110 grams weight ito, yung apple. And then sa orange naman, meron tayong 100 weight. So example lamang ito, class, okay? So kapag i-compare natin yung raw values, talaga naman na mas mabigat yung apple kaysa sa orange, 'di ba? So however, let's compare yung standard score na meron sila. So etong table na ito, makikita natin yung standard score nila. So sa first column, nandito yung wait lang. Ano yung namatay na naman? Okay, so dito sa table natin, kukunin natin yung standard score ng apple and then sa orange. So kanina 'di ba, ito yung ating assume natin ng apple ay nagkakaroon ng weight na 110 grams while yung orange ay 100 grams. Kahit alam naman natin na talagang in reality mas mabigat talaga yung apple. So sa first column, andito yung ating parameter which is yung mean and then yung standard deviation. Then sa second and third column is yung kilo, yung score ng apple and then sa orange. Okay, so sa apple, yung mean niya is meron siyang 100. And then, yung standard deviation niya ay meron siyang 15. While din sa orange, yung mean ay meron siyang 140. And then, yung standard deviation niya is meron siyang 25. So, ang kukunin natin ay yung z-score ng bawat prutas. So, sa apple, halimbawa, yung using this formula, z is equal to x minus u over standard deviation. Okay, so i-solve natin yan, no? So, ano ba yung ating mean? Ay yung score natin, score ng apple. Apple muna ito, class, okay? So, apple is equal to yung x, which is represent by yung score. So, 110, which is ito. Dito tayo titingin, class, okay? Ito yung parang x nila. Okay. So, sa apple, meron siyang score na 110. So, 110. Ganyan. Minus yung mean. Ano yung mean ng apple? So, 100. Okay, para siyang 160 yan. 100, no? Divided by standard deviation na 15. So, divided by 15 is equal to ilan? So, compute natin, nyo. Punta tayo sa ating calculator. 110, which is yung ating score, 110 minus yung ating mean na 100, yan, is equal to 10, no? Divided by yung ating standard deviation. So, meron tayong standard deviation na 15 sa apple, no? So, ang sagot ay 0.66667. So, run off natin yung second value. Yan. So, magiging 0.667 yung apple. 0.667. Okay, so ayan yung score ng standard score ng apple. How about orange? So yung score ng orange, which is 100 minus yung mean niya ay meron siyang 140 divided by standard deviation 25 is equal to Okay, punta ulit tayo sa calculator. 100 minus 140. Okay, so 100 minus ilan yung mean niya? 140. Yan is equal to negative 40 divided by yung kanyang standard deviation na 25. So, meron siyang sagot na negative 1.6. So, negative 1.6. Okay, so yung z-score for the apple na 0.667 is positive, diba? O, kung makapapansin nyo, positive. Which means na yung apple natin way more than the average apple. No? Okay, so hindi siya yung tinatawag na extreme value by any means. So, but it is above the average for yung apple. So, sa kabila naman, yung orange, kung saan meron siyang z-score na negative 1.6. No? So, mas mababa, kasi negative siya, mas mababa yung mean weight niya, no? Yung orange. So, ganito yung parang graph niya. So, wait. Graph natin, no? Yung comparison niya sa graph. So, this is your horizontal line. Na, tabingi. Okay. And then, okay, so, no, pangit. Okay. Okay, so, kaya, di ba yung apple natin is mas mabigat kaysa sa ating orange kasi yung apple natin is may positive value, no? Yung ating orange ay negative siya. So, bale, ganito yan. Yung orange natin na negative 1.6, it lies between, matatandaan nyo class yung ating sigma, yung sigma rule or yung empirical rule natin, which is yung 68%, yun yung it lies between the negative. Okay, lagyan muna natin. So, ito yung 0, yung ating origin. So, 1, 2, then 3. So, 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So, yung ating 68% kanina ay dito yan sa negative 1 and positive 1, no? So, yung orange natin ay, di ba negative kasi siya, no? Negative 1.6. So, punta tayo dito sa from origin to the left side, which is yung negative x-axis and then yung y-axis natin. So, dahil negative siya, so ito yung negative natin, negative 1, pero meron siyang extension na 0.6. So, yung 0.6, so parang nandito yan sa gitna, no? Yan, 6 hanggang sa magiging negative 2. So, ito yung ating line nung ating orange. Ayan. Okay, so ito yung ating orange na negative 1.06. Yan. While yung apple natin na 0.667, so positive siya, diba? So, papunta naman sa right side ng x-axis from origin na 0. So, 0.66 hanggang before mag 1. So, nandito rin siya. Dito. Yan. Yan. So, ito yung apple natin na 0.0, 667. Okay. So, nakita nyo ba class yung difference ng dalawa? So, ganyan ang pag-graph ng using the yung bell curve natin, pag-graph natin ng standard score, no? So, yung mean, usually, 0 yan. And then, yung standard deviation natin is 1. So, kapag kunin natin sa percentage yung 1, under the bell curve is 100%. No? So, ganito yung ating yung sagot natin sa z-score. So, this is the orange and ito naman yung apple. Okay? So, next example, using a table of z-score. So, ganun lang din siya class, pero gagamit tayo ng z-table or z-score na yung height and then yung area naman. So, given the table ng z-score, so this is your z-score sa first column. Second column is yung height, and then sa third is yung the area. So, kunin natin yung z-score or yung standard score ng apple, which is 0. Sige, sulat natin 0.667. Okay, so ayan yung apple natin yun, no? Gamitin natin ito para ma-determine yung weight percentile. Ayan, kunin na naman natin yung isa sa mga relative position, which is percentile. So, alam nyo ba class kung paano yung pagkuha ng percentile? Yan, kung makatandaan nyo yung formula, sundan lang natin yon, no? So, a percentile is the proportion of a population that falls below the specific value. So, this is the way of apple, no? Okay. So, yung gagawin naman natin dito, class, kung mapapansin nyo, meron siyang yan, nalagyan na ng bilog itong ating ano. So, yung 0.667 na way ng apple kanina. So, ang gagawin natin yan, yung value in conjunction with the properties of yung normal distribution para makuha natin yung probability na kailangan natin, no? So, yung table value indicates yung area ng curve natin between negative 0.65 and positive 0.65, no? Kasi ito yung kukunin natin na ito yung given natin na value, yung value nung way nung apple kanina na example natin. So, dito sa score natin dito sa table hanggang 0.65 hanggang 0.70. So, wala tayong makikita dyan na 0.66 or 0.67, no? So, ang pinakamalapit dito sa value natin is yung 0.65. So, ang gagawin natin dyan, kunin natin yung between negative and positive. So, negative, kanya na lang natin. So, negative 0.65 and then yung positive. Yan, negative and positive, ganyan na lang. Positive and negative 0.65. So, ang katapat niyan, yung area ng 0.65 is 48.43. No, yung area niya. So, however, hindi yan yung gusto nating malaman, no? So, kukunin natin yung gusto natin kunin yung area na less than yung z-score na 0.65. So, ang gagawin natin yan, kapag yung area for the interval na negative and positive 0.65 or yung Oo, yun, is 48.43%, no? Yung area niya. Kaya, yung range from 0, so lagi tayo mag-start ng 0, no? Mag-start tayo from mean na 0 to yung positive 0.65. Kaya kunin natin yung half niya, which is yung 48.43, no? Okay. So, yung narinig nyo class ay ano lang yon, thunder, kasi muulan siya. So, anyway, wag nyo pansinin yun. So, kunin natin yung half nun. So, 48, ang gagawin lang natin is 48.43 divided by 2. Kunin natin yung half niya, okay? Ano ba yung formula ng percentile, di ba? N is equal to P divided by 100 times N. Diba? Yan yung formula natin ng percentile. So, 48, hindi ito yung susundin natin. So, anyway, ganyan. So, kunin natin yung half ng 48.43. So, i-divide natin ng 2. So, ilan yon? Punta tayo sa calculator na naman. Okay, yung calcu natin is, ano ba yung area ng 0.65? So, 48.43 divided by 2. So, meron tayong 24.215. Okay, so, ang sagot dyan is 24.215 15% yung half ng 48.43. So, yung area for all the scores natin is kunin natin yung parang yung less than 0 is half, which is 50% of the distribution, no? Therefore, yung area for all scores kaya yung area for all scores up to 0.65 is equal to 50% plus yung 24.215% is equal to 74.215. So, yung 50% is half nung lahat ng score natin. Yung 24.215% ay nakuha natin sa half nung area nung 0.65 na z-score natin. No, so, nalito ba kay class? So, yung area ng 0.65 z-score natin dun sa way ng apple na 0.667 is 48.43, di ba? So, dinivide natin ng 2 kasi kukunin natin yung half niya, naging 24.215%. Ngayon, kapag kunin natin yung i-add natin siya, no, para makuha yung buong score nung standard score, no, ng 0.65. So, 50 plus 24.215 is equal to 74. So, para mapatunayan natin, punta tayo sa calculator ulit. So, 50 plus 24.215 is equal to 74.215. So, tama ba yung answer? Yan, 74.215%. Kaya, yung apple natin is approximately 74% yan. Doon sa ating percentile doon sa relative position natin, no? So, meron siyang percentage na 74.215%. So, pag kukunin natin yung percentile niya, 74. So, nasa 74. Hindi natin kukunin yung decimal part. So, halimbawa, kung run off natin yan, gusto natin kunin 75%. So, yung percentile niya, di 75 lang din. Okay? So, ayan yung example natin ng pagkuha ng z-score or standard score using the different standard table. Okay, so yan, dito nagtatapos yung part 2 ng ating data management, probabilities, and normal distribution. So, for our requirements class, pakilagay sa yellow paper, no? So, before nyo sagutan itong mga tanong, so meron lang 2 items na tanong class. Basahing mabuti, wag dire-diretsong magsagot. Sagot kayo ng sagot na hindi nyo pala naintindihan yung instruction or yung sinasabi nung problem, written problem, yan, 0 lang din. Okay, so basahing mabuti bago sagutan. Okay, so 5 points each. Okay, so kapag nasagutan, pakisubmit agad sa school para sa susunod na requirements. Ang tawag dyan, tambakin sa bahay. Okay, so paalala lang ulit class na please mag-comply kayo sa mga activities na nakukuha nyo. Okay, so kung ano man yung mga concerns nyo class, pwede nyo akong puntahan dito sa school or i-message para sa mga iba pang concerns. Okay, so tapos na yung ating topic sa normal distribution and probabilities, and then yung measures of relative position. Okay, so maraming salamat class sa pakikinig. Thank you for your patience and cooperation. So magkita-kita ulit tayo sa next topic natin, which is ano ang next topic natin? Ay about sa patterns and diagrams, symmetry. So, statistics din ito class, no? Geometric designs naman na tayo. So, puro mga transformation, mga pattern, na ganun. So, okay. So, thank you again for listening and God bless you all class.